Today, we're diving deep into one of the most intense developments in the Baltic region, Denmark drawing a red line against Russia in the Baltic Sea. This move has not only reshaped the balance of power in Northern Europe, but also sent shockwaves through Moscow. The Baltic Sea, once seen as a shared zone of trade and military navigation, is now becoming a frontline of geopolitical confrontation. Denmark's latest actions have clearly signaled that the days of quiet diplomacy with Russia are over. For years, Russia has used the Baltic Sea as a strategic route for its military and energy ambitions. From naval exercises to the movement of submarines and warships, Moscow viewed the Baltic as an extension of its defense perimeter. But now, Denmark is stepping up, enforcing new military and security measures that effectively set boundaries Russia can no longer cross without consequences. This isn't just about one small country standing up to a giant. It's about NATO, the EU, and the future of security in the entire Baltic region. Denmark's decision didn't come out of nowhere. It's the result of years of rising tensions following Russia's aggressive moves in Ukraine and beyond. As NATO expanded its presence in the region, Denmark, a key NATO member, found itself on the front lines of defending the alliance's northern flank. The Danish government has now made it clear any attempt by Russia to challenge freedom of navigation, airspace sovereignty, or territorial boundaries in the Baltic Sea will be met with a firm and immediate response. This stance marks a major turning point. Denmark has always been cautious in its dealings with Russia, preferring diplomacy over confrontation. But as Russian naval movements became more aggressive and intelligence reports confirmed increased Russian surveillance around critical infrastructure, such as pipelines, data cables, and offshore wind farms, Copenhagen realized it could no longer stay silent. The risk was simply too high. Recently, Denmark announced new defense measures, including advanced radar monitoring systems, increased maritime patrols, and joint military exercises with NATO allies like Sweden, Finland, and Germany. These actions are meant to send a clear message. The Baltic Sea will not become a Russian playground, and this message has been backed up by real action. Danish F-16 fighter jets have been regularly intercepting Russian aircraft near their airspace, and the Danish Navy has increased its presence around strategic choke points like the Danish Straits. The Danish Straits, connecting the North Sea to the Baltic, are among the most important maritime routes in Europe. Whoever controls this passage controls much of the trade flow to and from Russia's key ports, including St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad. By reinforcing security here, Denmark is effectively tightening the noose on Russia's naval freedom. It's a strategic master stroke, peaceful in its intention but powerful in its impact. Moscow, of course, is not pleased. Russian officials have accused Denmark of militarizing the Baltic and following orders from Washington and Brussels. But behind these accusations lies a deeper frustration. For the first time in decades, Russia finds itself cornered in a region it once dominated. The Baltic Sea, which used to serve as a safe corridor for Russian naval power projection, is now filled with NATO surveillance, patrols, and deterrence forces. Denmark's new military posture aligns perfectly with the broader NATO strategy of deterrence through strength. Since Finland and Sweden joined the alliance, the entire Baltic coastline, except for the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad, belongs to NATO. This has drastically reduced Russia's maneuvering room. The message is simple. Any provocation or misstep could trigger a unified response from some of the world's most advanced militaries. The symbolism of Denmark's move is just as important as its strategic implications. Denmark might be a small country, but its position gives it immense leverage. The Danish Straits are NATO's gatekeeper to the Baltic. When Denmark says red line, it carries weight across the entire alliance. It's a warning that NATO's northern shield is fully active and alert. Behind the scenes, Denmark has been working closely with its Nordic and Baltic neighbors. Intelligence sharing has reached unprecedented levels. Joint naval exercises are more frequent and more complex than ever before. There's also a new focus on protecting undersea infrastructure, especially after the Nord Stream pipeline explosions, which many Western experts suspect were linked to Russian sabotage. Denmark understands that in modern warfare, the front lines aren't just on land or sea. They run through the ocean floor, through cables and pipelines that keep Europe's economy running. Another major factor driving Denmark's assertiveness is the changing energy landscape. As Europe cuts its dependence on Russian gas, the Baltic Sea has become a hub for renewable energy development. Massive offshore wind farms are being built in Danish waters, connecting to grids across Europe. These installations are both economic assets and strategic targets. Any threat to them, whether from cyber attacks, espionage, or naval provocations, would be treated as a national security issue. By defending the Baltic, Denmark is also defending Europe's energy future. The Danish military's modernization program has accelerated rapidly. The country has invested in new frigates, anti-submarine warfare capabilities, and state-of-the-art surveillance technology. Its cooperation with NATO's Maritime Command ensures that every move in the Baltic is closely monitored. Denmark's defense minister recently stated that the era of passive observation is over. This simple but powerful statement sums up the country's new doctrine: vigilance, deterrence, and readiness. Russia, meanwhile, has been conducting its own drills in the Baltic, testing NATO's response and probing for weaknesses. But every time a Russian vessel makes a move near Danish waters, it's met with an immediate and coordinated response. This has turned the region into a high-stakes chessboard, with both sides maneuvering carefully to avoid direct confrontation while maintaining an aggressive stance. Analysts believe Denmark's red line serves as both a defensive measure and a political message. It reassures its neighbors and NATO allies that Denmark will not be intimidated. At the same time, it tells Moscow that escalation will only strengthen Western unity. This kind of resolve is exactly what NATO needs to deter Russian adventurism. Denmark's leadership has also been vocal in international forums, calling for more investment in Baltic security. At recent NATO meetings, Danish officials emphasized the importance of maintaining freedom of navigation and the protection of critical maritime routes. The Baltic is not just a regional issue anymore, it's a central theater in the global struggle for power and influence between Russia and the West. Interestingly, Denmark's stance has inspired other small nations to take firmer positions as well. Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia have all stepped up their defense readiness, investing heavily in coastal defenses and air surveillance. The Nordic region is transforming into one of the most fortified areas in the world, where unity and deterrence go hand in hand. The concept of a red line isn't just symbolic, it's practical. It sets boundaries that everyone understands, and Denmark has made sure those boundaries are backed by capability, not just words. It's one thing to declare opposition to Russian aggression. It's another to have ships, jets, and radar systems enforcing it daily. Copenhagen's actions show that deterrence is most effective when it's visible and credible. Russia's response so far has been mostly rhetorical. State media portrays Denmark as a puppet of NATO, but behind the propaganda, there's genuine concern in Moscow. Every new Danish patrol, every joint NATO drill, and every surveillance upgrade chips away at Russia's sense of control in the region. The Baltic, once a symbol of Russian strength, is becoming a symbol of its strategic isolation. This shift also affects Russia's Baltic fleet, based in Kaliningrad. The fleet is now effectively boxed in. Any movement it makes can be tracked or countered by NATO forces stationed in Denmark, Poland, and the Baltic states. Supply routes and operations have become riskier, and the fleet's influence is declining fast. Denmark's firm stance has played a major role in this outcome, proving that even small nations can alter great power dynamics when they act decisively and strategically. Another crucial aspect is the psychological impact. Russia thrives on intimidation, flyovers, close encounters, and shows of force. Denmark's refusal to flinch undermines that strategy. Every intercepted Russian jet, every shadowed vessel, sends a clear message: the era of fear is over. This confidence not only strengthens Denmark's national morale, but also reinforces NATO's credibility. International observers see Denmark's actions as part of a larger Western effort to lock down the northern flank. From the Arctic to the Baltic, the message is uniform. Russia will be contained, not appeased. Denmark, due to its geography and resolve, has become the frontline guardian of this policy. Its courage and leadership in standing up to Moscow have earned respect across Europe. Even in economic terms, Denmark's stance carries weight. The country is a vital player in shipping, energy, and technology. Ensuring the security of the Baltic Sea safeguards trade routes worth billions of dollars annually. Businesses and investors see Denmark as a stable and reliable partner, even in times of geopolitical turbulence. Strength breeds confidence, and Denmark's strength is being recognized worldwide. As tensions continue, Denmark's military remains on high alert. The government has increased defense spending, prioritizing maritime security and cyber defense. Danish experts are also leading NATO discussions on hybrid warfare, combining military, cyber, and information tactics. This reflects an understanding that future conflicts will be fought as much with data and drones as with ships and missiles. The people of Denmark largely support this firm approach. Public opinion has shifted dramatically since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There's a growing awareness that peace must be defended, not assumed. Denmark's citizens understand that their nation's safety depends on active participation in collective defense, not on neutrality or hesitation. Looking ahead, the Baltic Sea will remain a focal point of global tension. Denmark's red line has drawn clarity in an increasingly uncertain world. It's a reminder that small nations can play big roles in defending democracy and stability. By standing firm, Denmark has not only protected its own waters, but also strengthened the entire European security architecture. The world is watching closely. Every move Denmark makes in the Baltic is analyzed by allies and adversaries alike. And as long as Copenhagen remains resolute, it sets a powerful example that even against great odds, courage and unity can keep aggression at bay. Russia may continue to test boundaries, but it now faces a region that's no longer afraid. The Baltic has changed from a quiet sea of trade to a shield of freedom. Denmark stands at its center, vigilant and unwavering. The red line has been drawn, and the message is unmistakable. Cross it, and the consequences will be immediate. In the end, Denmark's bold stance in the Baltic is more than a regional defense measure. It's a declaration of values. It's about sovereignty, freedom, and the right of nations to live without fear. By defending these principles, Denmark is not just protecting itself, it's defending the future of Europe. So as the waves of the Baltic continue to shift, one thing remains steady: Denmark's determination to keep its borders secure and its sea free from domination. The world has taken note, Russia has been warned, and the red line in the Baltic has never been clearer.